Gold is almost completely useless. Think about it. You can't eat it. You can't build a house with it. It's too soft to make a tool or a weapon. A gold sword would bend the first time you swung it. For nearly all of human history, this metal did basically nothing. And yet, right now, humanity has dug up around 200,000 tons of the stuff, hauled it out of the deepest mines on Earth at enormous cost and danger, and then, in many cases, melted it into bars and buried it right back underground in vaults, where armed guards protect it forever. We risk lives to dig up a shiny metal just to bury it again. So who decided this nearly useless element was the most precious substance on the planet? The answer is one part hard science and one part total accident. And once you see both halves, you'll never look at a gold ring the same way again. Let's start with the half that isn't an accident at all, because it's genuinely beautiful. Imagine you're an early civilization, thousands of years ago, and you want to invent money. You need some physical substance to store value in, so you look around at the world, at everything the universe has to offer, and you have to pick the perfect material. A chemical engineer at Columbia University named Sanat Kumar did exactly this thought experiment. And it's the cleanest way to understand why gold won. You take the periodic table, all the elements that exist, and you simply cross off everything that won't work as money. And what's astonishing is how almost everything fails. Start crossing them out. First, money obviously can't be a gas. You can't carry your wealth around as a cloud that floats away the moment you open the jar. So the whole right-hand side of the table, the gases, is gone instantly. Same with the two elements that are liquid at room temperature. Next, money can't be reactive. It can't corrode, rust, or burst into flames. And here's a great detail. Pure lithium, if you expose it to air, can ignite into a fire hot enough to burn through concrete. Money that spontaneously catches fire is a terrible idea. That single rule, must not react, must not corrode, eliminates a huge chunk of the table, around 38 more elements. Your wealth has to still be there unchanged when you dig it up 1,000 years later. Iron rusts away, copper tarnishes, they're out as a pure store of value. Now cross off the radioactive elements, the bottom two rows, because money that slowly irradiates you and decays into nothing is, let's say, a poor long-term investment. After all of this brutal elimination, out of more than 118 elements, you're left with just a tiny handful of metals that are stable, solid, and won't kill you. And from that handful, you can cross off more. Some, like rhodium and palladium, weren't even discovered until the 1800s. An ancient civilization couldn't have used what it couldn't find. Some have melting points so insanely high, you'd need a modern furnace just to shape them. You can't mint a coin from a metal you can't melt over a fire. And when the dust settles, you're left standing with essentially two options: silver and gold. Both are rare, stable, easy to melt and shape, and pleasant to look at. And gold edges ahead for one final reason. It basically never tarnishes, staying brilliant and untouched essentially forever, while silver slowly darkens. As Kumar put it, for planet Earth, with every parameter we have, gold is the sweet spot. It would come out no other way. So here's the first half of the truth, and it's the part the gold lovers adore. Gold isn't valuable because of some random whim. Out of everything in the universe, it is almost chemically destined to be the thing a civilization picks. If you reran human history 1,000 times, you'd land on gold again and again. That's not an accident. That's physics. And the rare part isn't just an Earth fact. It goes all the way back to where gold physically comes from, which might be the most spectacular reason it's precious. Most of the elements around you were forged inside ordinary stars. But gold is different. A normal star fusing elements simply can't make it. The process stops cold at iron. To create gold, the universe needs something almost unimaginably violent. The leading source? The collision of two neutron stars. The ultra-dense corpses of dead stars, each so heavy that a single teaspoon of one would weigh millions of tons. When two of these spiral together and smash into each other at a fraction of the speed of light, the explosion, called a kilonova, is so catastrophic that it forges heavy elements like gold and flings them across the galaxy. We actually saw this happen in 2017, when detectors caught two neutron stars colliding 130 million light-years away, and astronomers calculated that single crash produced gold roughly equal to the mass of the entire Earth. So every gold ring, every gold bar in every vault is shrapnel from one of the most violent events in the cosmos, older than the sun itself. It's genuinely scarce because the universe makes it only in these rare cataclysms, though in a nice touch of humility, scientists still argue about whether even those collisions can account for all the gold we find. The point stands. This stuff is cosmically hard to make. So, case closed, right? Gold is the inevitable, scientifically perfect money, literally born in the stars. Except, not so fast. Because that elegant story has a massive hole in it. And this is where the accident comes crashing in. Here's the problem. Chemistry can explain why gold is the perfect material for money. Durable, rare, stable. But chemistry cannot explain why gold should be worth anything at all beyond that. Remember how we started? This metal is almost useless. You can't make a tool from it. For most of history, it had no practical function whatsoever. Its only real uses were decoration and showing off. The historian Yuval Noah Harari makes this point sharply. For nearly all of history, gold was a functionally valueless metal. Its worth doesn't come from what it can do. So where does it come from? It comes from one thing and one thing only: the fact that everyone agrees it's valuable. Gold is worth a fortune because everyone believes everyone else thinks it's worth a fortune. It's a shared story. A collective agreement that this particular shiny, useless metal means wealth. And shared stories are powerful, but they are not laws of physics. And here's the proof that the story could have gone differently. For most of human history, gold actually wasn't the main money. Silver was. Stop and sit with that, because it wrecks the whole "gold was always destined" narrative. For thousands of years, going all the way back to ancient Mesopotamia, it was silver that paid the wages, silver that bought the bread, silver that ran the everyday economy. The very word for money in many languages is literally the word for silver. Gold was for kings and for huge international deals, but the metal in ordinary hands, doing the real work of money for millennia, was silver. One of the most famous economists of the 20th century, Milton Friedman, flatly stated that the major monetary metal in history is silver, not gold. So if silver carried the load for thousands of years, why do we now treat gold as the ultimate money? The answer is almost embarrassingly mundane, and this is the accident at the heart of it. Gold didn't win on some natural law. It won largely because of a series of historical accidents and political decisions centered on one country: Britain. In the early 1700s, Britain set the official exchange rate between gold and silver, and they set silver's value slightly too low. The result was that silver coins became worth more melted down than spent, so they quietly drained out of circulation, leaving gold to dominate by default. It was a pricing mistake, not a master plan. Then, in the 1800s, Britain became the most powerful economy on the planet, the center of global trade. And because Britain was effectively on gold, everyone who wanted to trade with Britain found it convenient to go on gold too. One country's accidental policy, backed by one empire's economic might, dragged the entire world onto the gold standard and pushed silver aside. Scholars who've studied this closely argue plainly that gold's dominance was never inevitable. It wasn't some natural law of money, but the product of specific geopolitical events and government decisions that happened to line up. Had a few of those decisions gone the other way, you might be checking the price of silver every morning, and gold might be the secondary metal. And if you still think gold's value is some solid, permanent thing carved into nature, history has already proven more than once that it can crack overnight. The value only holds because gold stays scarce. Flood the market, and the whole illusion buckles. It has actually happened. In the 1300s, an emperor of the Mali Empire, Mansa Musa, by some estimates the wealthiest person who ever lived, traveled across North Africa handing out so much gold so freely that he single-handedly crashed its value in the cities he passed through. The sudden flood of gold sent prices soaring and the metal's worth tumbling, and the damage to the local economies reportedly lasted around a decade, all because one man was too generous. Centuries later, it happened on a continental scale, when Spain hauled shipfuls of gold and silver out of the Americas and poured it into Europe. The sheer flood of new metal helped drive a long, grinding inflation. The same gold that made Spain look unimaginably rich quietly lost value, as there was simply more of it around. The lesson is brutal and clear. Gold's value was never an unbreakable law. Make it abundant, and the magic drains right out of it. So now you can see the strange, double-sided truth at the center of this. On one hand, gold being suitable for money is no accident at all. It's chemistry, it's physics, it's forged in colliding stars, the genuinely perfect material the periodic table almost hands to you. But gold being the king of money, worth what it's worth, ruling over silver, that part is a historical fluke, a shared belief locked in place by an empire's pricing error and an empire's power, and one that can wobble the moment the metal stops being scarce. Gold sits at the exact intersection of hard science and pure storytelling. It is simultaneously the most rational money ever chosen and a completely arbitrary one. And here's the final twist that makes the whole thing almost dizzying. None of gold's chemistry actually requires that we value it. The properties are real, but the price is pure agreement, which means gold's value rests on the same foundation as a paper bill or a number on a screen: collective trust. We tend to think gold is real money and paper is the flimsy, made-up version. Gold feels solid, eternal, backed by nature itself. But the heavy bar of gold locked in a vault is worth a fortune for the exact same reason a paper bill is, because we all agree it is. Strip away the human belief, and you're left with what gold has always physically been: a soft, shiny, remarkably useless piece of metal forged in a dead star that we alone decided to worship. The value was never in the gold. It was in us all agreeing to look at it the same way.